Recording in progress. Okay, welcome again, everyone, to Chapter 9, continuing Chapter 9. And today we're going to begin with text 20 of Chapter 9. So before we begin, let's offer some prayers to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachaline Nirvasesha Sunyavadi Pashtatara Satarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So let me share the Bhagavad Gita with you. Yeah, quite a few devotees coming in and out. Some are coming in, going out, and coming back in. Share screen. Okay, here we go. Hare Krishna. Oh, I want to make it double. You can see Bhagavad Gita?
Yeah, but only a little white. No, it's disappearing somehow.
Now you can see?
No.
No?
Yes, we can see text 23.
Okay, let me, I want to try and do something. I want to try and make the screen bigger. Okay. All right, 1 second. Let me stop sharing and come back out and make it bigger. Okay, here we go again. Share screen. And you're going to see a bigger expanse. There you go. That's better, isn't it?
Well, it disappeared actually. It's actually both pages. Before it was one page.
Yeah, that's what I specifically wanted, and that's what I've done. So,
okay.
That way we can reflect back on what we've read, you know. So it's all right. Okay, so now we're on 9:20. Okay, so let's just pick it up from there. Yeah. Okay, so you can read Mother Sahachari.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Chapter 9, text 20. Traividya mam soma paputa papa yagnair istvasvar gatim prathayante te punyam asya surendra lokam asanti divyan divi deva bhogan.
Yes.
Those who studied the Vedas and drink the soma juice, seeking the heavenly planets, worship me indirectly. Purified of sinful reactions, they take birth on the pious heavenly planet of Indra, where they enjoy godly delights. Purport. The word Trividya refers to the three Vedas, Sama, Yajur, and Rig. A Brahmana who has studied these three Vedas is called a Trivedi. Anyone who is very much attached to the knowledge derived from these three Vedas is respected in society. Unfortunately, there are many great scholars of the Vedas who do not know the ultimate purport of studying them. Therefore, Krishna herein declares himself to be the ultimate goal for the Trivedis. Actual Trivedis take shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna and engage in pure devotional service to satisfy the Lord. Devotional service begins with the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and side by side trying to understand Krishna in truth. Unfortunately, those who are simply official students of the Vedas become more interested in offering sacrifices to the different demigods like Indra and Chandra. By such endeavor, the worshippers of different demigods are certainly purified of the contamination of the lower qualities of nature and are thereby elevated to the higher planetary systems or heavenly planets known as Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, etc. Once situated on those higher planetary systems, one can satisfy his senses hundreds of thousands of times better than on this planet.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I just remembered a question that Madhu Mongolpur asked yesterday, and today in reading up on this verse and the next one, and the one after, I found the answer. I think, as far as I remember, you asked the question, Madhu Mongol, what happens to those who are in the heavenly planets, and as will be described in the next verse, then their piety is exhausted. they return to the earthly realm. Where and in what, where do they take birth? What is their situation? So that's answered. I'm jumping ahead a bit, but that's answered in text 21 by Baladev Vijayabhushana. He says that they take birth as a brahmanas generally. So it's a pious birth that they fall down to. So they fall down to the material world, but at least we're in a pious situation. So that kind of makes sense. Okay? Hare Krishna. So any immediate questions or comments here? I just give, go on.
It's interesting that there is a chance to go and experience that reality too, in case that you not make it back to Godhead. You can still experience those, let's say, pleasures, even if it's a disadvantage going there.
Yeah, in one sense, what you're saying is right. But Prabhupada said, he actually mentioned the problems with my followers, disciple stroke followers. No, he said actually many of my followers will go to the heavenly planets rather than back to Godhead. So the point here that we should be aware of, especially in the next verse, that Krishna's bringing this out because these places are temporary. Yeah, they are not eternal. So better to have one's eyes set on that which is eternal. And that's the spiritual realm. Yeah. So we don't want to be distracted by what's known as the flowery words of the Vedas, which describe the heavenly planets in great detail. And some persons, as described here, then they will engage in the specific worship in order to obtain that abode. But they cannot remain there. So just keep that in mind. It's not the place where we really want to go. We really want to go to the spiritual realm. Yeah. So the material, the heavenly planets are part of the material universe. So you're still going to be in the Ferris wheel of the cycle of birth and death. Right. So just keep that in mind. And so Krishna here, he's describing those who are worshipping, they're actually worshipping Krishna. Krishna manifests as a demigods, okay? He's manifesting as a demigods and receiving the worship of those who are somewhat materially motivated. But what's good is that at least they accept some aspect of divinity. And they're praying, at least so they have truth in the Vedas. They have truth in, or that they have faith in the Veda, excuse me. So they're worshipping here demigods like Indra and Chandra, etc. So, but ultimately, everything which they receive is sanctioned and given by Krishna, actually. But they do not know it. So again, this word comes up. They are worshipping Krishna, but indirectly, and so they get indirect results. Yeah. So the indirect results is another place in the material world. Yeah. Another shop on the high street, another shop in the material world.
So,
yeah.
So they can get stuck kind of also there in the loop of pleasure instead of advancing, because they get pious activities and they can prolong somehow their life there, not a life, but their time on that planets. But if no one comes to tell them, actually, look, this is not where you should be, you should go further to Krishna, then it's a problem, because they're again trapped in the same loop with more pleasure.
Yep. You've got it. And Prabhupada says at the end here, by such endeavor, the worshippers of different demigods are certainly purified, all right, of the contamination of lower qualities, so they gain piety, and they're elevated to higher planets such as Mahaloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka. Yeah. But as the next verse will point out, they will fall down again. Yeah. Right, and there's, yes.
So there they will have even more suffering than he.
Yep, you got it. This is the point. This is the
Or would they go somewhere where it's hurting even more?
cycle of samsara, birth, death in different planets, you know. So let me just read this section here a little bit from Urijan. Then I have a couple of things to read from Charas, but here, students of the Vedas generally worship the demigods, as mentioned before. Now, if such persons worship Krishna, through their worship of the demigods, they are properly situated. So I forget now, but in the forget who exactly, but in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there was one king who would engage in worship of the demigods. But he was a bhakta, he was a pure devotee. But he would worship demigods with faith and knowing exactly that they were representing his Lord, Krishna. Yeah, he had full faith in this principle that they are representing the Shaktis of Krishna. So therefore, he is worshipping those devas. That was his personal meditation. But his citizens were not necessarily, didn't necessarily have that same qualification of understanding. Yeah, but he himself was worshipping, knowing exactly that they were representatives of Krishna. So, as described, so he was properly situated. Yeah, and it goes on. If they worship the demigods as independent deities, this is the problem. Yeah. If they worship them independent deities, but still they get purified and attain the heavenly kingdom. Now, what happens to them is described in the next verse. Yeah, we follow. And let me see if here. Any other questions on that? Here.
Maybe as Krishna,
Yes.
Krishna is called as Rishikesha, who is the
Right.
controller. So, I mean, if we get into Krishna consciousness, obviously we are surrendering all our senses to Krishna, and he's the one who is riding the senses. So, I think the path towards Krishna is more devotional than materialistic one.
For sure.
Maybe.
Yes, for certain. It is completely, it should ultimately it is, yeah, it's completely, yeah, carry on, sorry.
No, that's just a thought, Prabhu, I thought to share.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so this is the idea. So that, but there again, there may be some persons who are worshipping Krishna, Sakam or Mokshakam or Adhering. Some persons may be worshipping Krishna with ulterior motives, but they get purified of those ulterior motives by contact with Krishna and his bhaktas, and then they become pure devotees. And there's a story of who we always in the Srimad Bhagavatam,
Dhruv Maharaj.
Dhruva Maharaj. Such a wonderful story, illustrates this very nicely. Yeah, so you will have those who are mixed devotees, but they ultimately, by association with Sudha Bhaktas, they will get purified. But if you worship the demigods, then you're not going to get purified, or you're not going to develop Ananya Bhakti. You're just going to go up to the heavenly planets, come back down again to earth, etc. Yeah.
If you want mukti, then pray to Krishna. If you want,
That's it. There's a verse describes like that.
Yeah.
Do you know that verse in Bhagavatam? I forget the beginning of it. Akamo shava kamo va moksha kamo ovadaradi tifrena bhakti yogena yojeti purusham param. Yeah, this comes in Bhagavatam. After a long list of all the benefits that come from worshiping demigods is given. If you want to be, if you want to become rich, you worship particular demigod. If you want to become powerful, you worship Surya Dev. If you want this, if you want that, you should worship this deva, that deva, this deva. But then this verse comes up. Actually, if someone is broad-minded, they will worship Krishna. If someone is actually really, intelligent. They will worship Krishna. All right. And here it's described a little bit from Baladev Vijayabhusana. Having described the qualities of his devotee, in order to give a further understanding of them, he contrasts them with those who are adverse to the Lord in these two verses. All right, so he's just described the qualities of a devotee, Mahatmanastu Mampata. Yeah, and now as a contrast, he's describing those who worship the demigods. All right. Any other questions, insights, comments, curiosities about this? Otherwise, we can. If they would go on to 21. Okay, Mother Mongol, you can read text 21.
Tam bhaktva svarga lokam vishalam shine punye martya lokam vishanti evam trayi dharmam anuprapana gata gatam kama kama labhante. Translation: when they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to the mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. Purport: one who is promoted to the higher planetary system enjoys a longer duration of life and better facilities for sense enjoyment. Yet one is not allowed to stay there forever. One is again sent back to this earth upon finishing the resultant fruits of pious activities. He who has not attained perfection of knowledge, as indicated in the Vedanta Sutra, Janma Diyasya Yataha, or in other words, he who has failed to understand Krishna, the cause of all causes, become baffled about achieving the ultimate goal in life, and is thus subject to the routine of being promoted to the higher planets, and then again coming down, as if situated on a fairy wheel, which sometimes goes up and sometimes comes down. The purport is that instead of being elevated to the spiritual world, from which there is no longer any possibility for coming down, one simply revolves into a cycle of birth and death on a higher and lower planetary systems. One should better take to the spiritual world to enjoy an eternal life full of bliss and knowledge and never return to this miserable material existence.
All right. Everyone's convinced about this?
Well, the best map.
See, the point that what we strive for is bliss, is happiness. So we have to be convinced that the real the real bliss and happiness is to be found in the spiritual world only. But it's of a spiritual nature, in that the bliss comes as a result of serving Krishna with loving devotion, as we know. Yeah. Then one becomes overwhelmed and affected by the bliss of that devotion. And that far outweighs the insignificant so-called happiness to be had even in the heavenly planets. Yeah. There's also a verse in Bhagavatam, from wandering from the topmost, that's described in Bhagavad Gita as well, from the topmost planet, Brahmaloka, to the bottom planet, all are replaced with places of repeated birth and death. Anyone know that verse? Okay, now I think it's we read it in the 8th chapter.
Is it Brahma Bhuvana Loka?
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Can you say the whole verse? Do you know the whole verse?
No, I don't know it by heart. Just remember the first line.
Yeah, and that's the essence of it, isn't it? From topmost planet down to the bottom. Brahma Loka. Yeah, all are repeated, all are all a place has repeated birth and death. So please don't get distracted, Model Mongol, by these descriptions of the heavenly planets. You want to check it
No,
out.
thank
It's
you.
not so bad.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Yeah. And perhaps all of us as well. Yeah. Yeah, so better. All right. Anything else from here?
Prabhu, I
Yes.
have a question. Like, see, all the demigods are devotees of Krishna, and association of a non-devotee with a devotee will result in purifying a non-devotee from all his sins and put him in a right path. Maybe if want to get a association with Krishna devotee, he need to be passing different stages with demigod devotees, and then come to a stage where he understands the Krishna consciousness. Is it like God has given us different routes so that either you go through this way and experience everything and then come to me, or straight away, if you are intelligent enough, come straight to me?
Yeah, interesting question. Perhaps I'll ask devotees, what is it specific about the demigods in regards to their worship? What type of devotees are they? I mean, they're devotees for sure.
They are limited, isn't it?
That's not the word we're looking for.
Enjoying?
It's transactional.
They are? Sorry, Mavulavanga, say again.
It's a transaction. They're making a transaction.
Material gains.
So
That means they are
looking for material. They're making a transaction.
So that's known as, they are mixed devotees.
Yeah.
So they're devoted to Krishna.
Not pure.
But it's not pure. They have their reasons for upasana and worship. Sometimes they may worship the Lord in order to remain in their respective position. And the reason they're given those posts, they're great devotees, is because they have some desire for lordship over the material world. So one might not necessarily develop what's described in the next verse as ananya bhakti in that association. Okay, I'm going to go and associate with Indra. But if you associate with Indra, you might start drinking soma rasa. You might start enjoying all the heavenly dancing, Urvasi and things like that. Because Indra, as much as a great soul he is, he's not a pure devotee like Prahlad, like Hanuman, like Dhruva became. So, and Vaishnavu, that's something to consider. So best we want to seek out the association of the pure bhaktas. And then we will be affected by their purity. Yeah, if we associate with those who are mixed devotees, we may become mixed as well. But we should give the demigods great respect because of the position that they are in. We give them great respect. So is that okay? And Vaishnavu, that would be my take on that, is that it might be a path that you might not make it back to Godhead very soon. You might well get bewildered. So better we seek out the bhaktas, those who are Tama Kinchana Gochara, those who have no desire for any position in the material world. They're not desiring good birth, they're not desiring any material strength, Tama Kinchana Gochara. Better we seek out those devotees. Yeah. Against, right. But thank you for your question. It's very interesting. Very nice point. Yeah. All right. So the next verse is a very special verse. Should we edge onto that verse? Anything else at all from these two verses? Just checking my notes here. Okay. All right, so let's see now. Let's lead. So leading into this verse, this is a well-known verse. Devotees, probably a few devotees here know this verse. We've quoted it many times in our readings. Anantas chintayanto mam. All right. So now Krishna, so moving on from 21 to 22, Krishna is going to explain the process by which his unalloyed devotees, whose only desire is to perpetually worship him, are maintained and receive their necessities. So the point here that we will bring out again, and we'll read something as well from the Acharyas, Prabhupada gives a wonderful purport. But the point here is that the devotees are so absorbed in their worship of Krishna that Krishna is obliged to take care of their needs. Yeah. So just keep that in mind there, and we'll discuss that more. This is what is being described here in this verse. All right. Someone would like to read 9:22?
Shall I read, Prabhu?
Yes, go ahead, Mother Anupama.
Okay. Anyasya chintanto mam ye jana prayasyate tesam nityavitanam yogashena avayahayaham. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. One who is unable to live for a moment without Krishna consciousness cannot but think of Krishna 24 hours a day, being engaged in devotional service by hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers, worshipping, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, rendering other services, cultivating friendship, and surrendering fully to the Lord. Such activities are all auspicious and full of spiritual potencies, which makes the devotee perfect in self-realization, so that his only desire is to achieve the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a devotee undoubtedly approaches the Lord without difficulty. This is called yoga. By the mercy of the Lord, such a devotee never comes back to this material condition of life. Shema refers to the material protection of the Lord. The Lord helps the devotee to achieve Krishna consciousness by yoga, and when he becomes fully Krishna conscious, the Lord protects him from falling down to a miserable conditioned life.
Miserable condition of life. Right, so any immediate questions here? Let me just check we finished that.
Well, if he's protecting us from falling down again, I think it's good. Or I hope so. I do have faith, but
Yeah, in other words, he's protecting the devotee from what otherwise those who worship demigods receive. They fall down again into the world of birth and death, but not the devotees who achieve his lotus feet. Yeah, when they become fully Krishna conscious, the Lord protects him from falling down to a miserable condition of life. For those who are fully Krishna conscious. Yeah. So yeah, I'll just read a little bit here to we can expand on this a bit more, this verse of purport. This is from Burijan. It says, with such determination in their practice, and Prabhupada's just highlighted the Ananya Bhakti of a devotee in this purport. He's just in his great ecstasy, we might say he is just glorifying the devotees and how they're 24 hours a day. Prabhupada says, engage in devotional service. So you can perhaps contemplate that. How is that possible? 24 hours a day. In one place, Prabhupada says 25 or 26 hours a day, devotees engage in service. All right. So here from Burujan, I think he's quoting from the Acharyas who we read from as well. With such determination in their practice, sadhana, the devotees neglect even their own maintenance and do not care for liberation. They leave both responsibilities to Krishna, and thus Krishna personally delivers them. So they're so absorbed in Krishna. They leave both responsibilities to Krishna for their own maintenance. Yeah. And thus Krishna personally delivers them. Any question that might come from that.
Or that we need to realize first. And I guess after we realize, then it's not going to be any more questions and fears and anything, because we surrender already.
Yeah, it's a principle of faith. Faith is quite an exciting word. It means that sometimes you have to jump into the unknown and have faith that Krishna's there. Yeah. Have faith that Krishna's going to protect you. Just like some persons, when they're first coming to devotional service, then they have a fear, or they have a hesitation that if I spend too much time at the temple, or if I chant 16 rounds, then how is my life going to go on? Yeah. But actually, Krishna, and devotees experience it, it's quite magical that Krishna makes wonderful arrangements in a devotee's life when they surrender to him. And he's got our backs covered, so to speak. Even not just as the perfect devotees, but even us who are practicing to be devotees. Yeah. So here, I'll just read here as well. So one may ask, what kind of devotee would give his worshipful deity Krishna such a burden? So it's not as if a devotee is thinking, I ain't going to worry about that. Let Krishna take care of this. Let Krishna take care of that. No, they're not in that consciousness. They're just like a young child who automatically is dependent upon his loving parents. And we'll read a bit about that, but let's just hear, yeah. What kind of devotee would give his worshipful deity Krishna such a burden? However, so anyone could answer that? So what's coming next? What kind of devotee would give his worshipful deity Krishna such a burden?
Maybe it's not a burden for Krishna, because
Yeah.
he is the maintainer of everybody in the universe.
Well, Mother Lavanga, are you sure you're not reading the same notes that I'm reading? You just said
I didn't read it. I just
She got a secret book.
came out of my head.
Yeah, it came out. Well, here's what he said. This is what yeah. However, Krishna does not consider maintaining his devotee a burden. He wants to serve his devotee. And exactly what you said as well. Krishna is so powerful that simply by exerting his will, he can create unlimited universes. Maintaining his devotee is not a burden. Rather, it is a pleasure. Yeah, it was very nice. Thank you.
But you do find that if you take shelter of Krishna, you have an attraction for Krishna, you want to spend more time developing that relationship,
Yeah.
Krishna will make arrangements for your maintenance, for clearing obstacles that will get in the way of that,
Yes.
developing that. And he is maintaining everything. Yeah.
Yes, I think I remember, if you don't mind me saying, Mother Lavanga, there was one video we did, wasn't it, about the Pujari department?
Oh, yes.
And you bring out that point that since you've been engaging in service to the Lord, then everything seems to have fitted in place as far as your personal maintenance, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So that's your personal experience.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah, it's very powerful. It's very powerful. And Krishna I think, Krishna likes to, from what my experience, like with devotees' experiences and things, Krishna likes to get involved.
Yeah.
He's very personal like that.
It's like we're serving Krishna, but Krishna's fired up to serve his devotees. Yeah. Krishna's looking at how he can serve his devotees, in order to assist them. Yeah. So it's a very sweet relationship.
Can I give an example?
Please. Yes, you can. Yeah.
I was thinking, like me, I don't use sat navs or this and that, anything. And
You don't use what?
sat nav, you know, finding my way, whatever,
Yeah.
in the morning. And then I'm driving at 4 o'clock and I'm like, I'll give you one example. Only a few weeks ago, Koksho wasn't here and Nishkant wasn't here. And I was thinking, oh, I'm going to drive on my own. How am I going to do it, you know? And I was like, keep your phones on, at least if I ring you. And then all of a sudden I was chanting and I could see my Gunitai. And then I realized Gunitai saying, why are you depending on your material sons? We're here. You know? It's like, no, Krishna is there for you.
Yeah. Nice realization.
My thinking is changed, you know.
Gonitai was smiling at you. So
Yeah,
don't worry.
really. Another thing, I don't remember, you know, I'm chanting and how am I remembering my Gunitai? I'm seeing them there, you know.
So it's a very personal relationship that the devotee has with Krishna. Very, very personal.
We all have things like that in life. Things have happened in life like that, you know. And then Krishna just reminds you, I'm here. Why are you worrying about, like, you know, your sons or whatever? You know?
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Prabhu, just a question, Prabhu. Even though we are devotee of Krishna, if we are making mistakes, he will make sure that we go through the respective purification process and I mean, what to say, give an atonement of all the sins and then take him to take his devotee to his abode. I mean, why I was mentioning this is like either devotee or non-devotee. If it's a non-devotee, someone like Shishupala, even for non-devotee, even though he made 100 mistakes, he gave him 100 chances to come up with, to correct himself at least once in the last minute.
Yeah.
Right? And but when it comes to Vijaya and Jaya, sorry, I mean, Jaya and Vijaya, the Dwarapalakas, when they did mistakes to Sanakanandana, all these Maharshis, they were immediately demoted to the materialistic world, and they have been represented like Rakshasas. And again, he came back and gave them moksha and took them back to his abode. So, see, it's like he's managing both devotees and non-devotees, and he's taking care of everything. He doesn't have any discrimination between devotees and non-devotees, and either it's a devotee or a non-devotee. If we do a mistake, he makes sure that he pays the price for it, right? It's not like we, in the name of Krishna, we can do everything and just say like, yeah, Krishna loves me.
Yeah, I don't know if let me see, try and repeat. Yeah, I mean, there are specific instances you brought up for one thing, Shishupal, I think he is Jain Vijay, no? Did I get that right?
Yeah, Jai Vijaya is a devotee.
Yeah. So that was, I've just read to part of that actually in Srimad Bhagavatam. That actually, that was the plan of Krishna ultimately, because Krishna has this Vira rasa that he likes to engage in fighting. And that's where it comes from. That's one aspect of that. So therefore, the whole pastime took place where his devotees took on the form of so-called demons. Yeah. And then they eventually, by Krishna's grace, they returned to the spiritual realm. But I couldn't quite grasp the point now what you're trying to make. So
I mean,
try and make it smaller.
When we said like in the purport, he will protect us falling down to a miserable conditional life.
Yeah,
it's not the case like all the time. He just gives us a free will, and even after giving the free will, if we are not aligning to the righteousness, then he won't handhold us to.
Okay, I think I understand. So let's just, that actual example of Shishupal, that doesn't quite fit really. Let's just take the example of
I mean,
because
why I
Krishna.
quoted, why I quoted Shishupal is like, when it comes to devotee, he gives the same treatment. When it comes to the non-devotee, also he gives the same treatment without any discrimination. And but devotees who are all there for, I mean, Krishna devotees can't be like taken for granted. Like, okay, we are devotees of Krishna, we are treated differently, and non-devotees are treated differently when we do some mistake, right? Is it?
Yeah, I mean, devotees shouldn't have that, what's that, self-righteous attitude. Generally, that wouldn't be the nature of a devotee. They have a humble disposition. They have a humble disposition. Now, as far as, so as far as the non-devotees, well, one, it was Krishna directly that did away with Shishupal. And ultimately, he is externally, by Leela, exhibiting non-devotee qualities and being envious of Krishna. But actually, he is a devotee. So that example is completely fit in, say, a person in the material world who is not devoted to Krishna in any way, shape, or form. In other words, there's we just samoham sababhuteshum, the dveshos stina priyaha. Again, the verse we're going to come up to in this 9th chapter, it describes that for the non-devotee, now Shishupal's a devotee, so he got special mercy because Krishna personally killed him. But for the non-devotees, as we described before, what's the word? It's all being managed by his material energy. We read this recently as well, that Samoham, he is equally disposed. He's not particularly inclined or not inclined. He is, as we read previously again in this 9th chapter, what's the I'm looking for? They are, he is indifferent in one sense. And then the second part of this verse describes, but those who serve me, then they get special attention from Krishna. Yeah, but those who render service to me, they are devotees, they are in me, and I am in them. It describes words to those effects. So for the non-devotee, Krishna does treat them, they are getting a different, here, this verse, Anantash Chintayanto Mam, is speaking about how Krishna reciprocates with his devotee. He doesn't reciprocate like this with the non-devotee. They are just handed over, one sense, into the material energy and receiving the results according to their specific, whether they're in the mode of ignorance, mode of passion, or the mode of goodness. So that's why I say that that example you gave doesn't exactly fit in the non-devotee within the material realm. Shishupal, that's a special situation. But your point is taken as well, is that we should not become complacent and look down upon and think we can do anything and everything. And that's described also in this 9th chapter, actually. It's coming up. Apishet tu sudaracharo bhajate mamananyabhak. Yeah. Let me just finish the spread. So for those, yeah. So Krishna says that you may forgive once, twice, or 3 times. One's not considered to be very highly placed devotee if one is engaged in sinful activities. Anyway, just some thoughts on that. Sorry. Carry on.
I'm sorry, Prabhu, to interrupt you. I mean, when you said like the right example, it's not the right example to actually look into. But how about Gajendra Moksha, where Gajendra, Gajendra prays for Narayana, and he's just in a way got into trouble with a crocodile in the lake, and So the person who praised Narayana, he was lifted out of that miserable condition, and
He was
at the same
lifted out
time,
of that terrible condition. Yeah.
at the same time, Krishna has given mukti to crocodile as well by killing him. So here crocodile is a non-devotee and Gajendra is a devotee.
Yeah, that's the special mercy of Krishna. Now, each of these, there is always a backstory. Yeah, and I forget what the backstory to Gajendra, that he was Marj Indra. And there's a backstory to the crocodile, which I can't recall now. Yeah.
Okay.
I can't recall that. So there is a backstory there, you know. So yeah, sorry, I lost my point. Yeah, there's a backstory. Yeah, anyway, did that answer the question? I didn't quite completely answer. I just
Yes, Prabhu, it did answer my question, and Krishna loves everyone.
yeah. Hare Krishna. Anybody else on this? Yeah, just sorry to go over it. Why did you give that example of Gajendra Mokshana? What point is you putting across there? I just want to go.
Yeah, Prabhu. I mean, when we said like Krishna takes care of his devotees, he just doesn't look at in the form of like he's my devotee and he's not my devotee. He just does the. I mean, this is my perception. Maybe I may be corrected as well.
Well,
And
this verse is saying something different. Those who worship me, this is how Krishna treats them. He doesn't treat the non-devotees the same. These examples you're bringing out, they all get, because of Krishna, that's the prerogative of Krishna. Anyone who's killed by him gets, and that's Krishna. But as far as the ordinary course of persons in the material world who have no devotion to Krishna, they are not killed by Krishna. So this verse is referring to his devotees. Krishna does not treat the non-devotees in the same way, except when he's personally killing someone. That's extraordinary. That's extraordinary mercy, and that's what's quite unique about Krishna, as in compared to even his expansions and different forms. You get killed by Krishna, they get liberated. But when you use the word non-devotee, that doesn't happen in the material world.
yeah, Prabhu. I mean, I have this kind of questions like when Rama killed Ravana. Ravana is non-devotee. Wali is non-devotee.
What's the backstory of Ravana?
Yeah, maybe I don't understand the full picture. Maybe I need to.
Yeah. There's backstories. They're actually devotees. There is backstories to these persons and to be killed by Krishna. So you cannot, that's what I'm saying, you cannot extrapolate or extrapolate that into the general people in the material world. No, they get treated, Krishna treats them differently. Krishna will say, samaham. But for those who render service to me, I'm a friend to them, they in me, and they experience what we've just been discussing here. He carries what they lack and he preserves what they have. That doesn't go on for the non-devotee.
Yeah, maybe I feel like he expresses the love in the form of aggression, who is not following the right path, and bring them to the right path. Maybe.
Well, in other words, they experience birth, death, old age, and disease again and again and again. That is until they meet a devotee. Yeah. So that. Right. Let me just get. Oh, thank you for that, and that's quite a discussion. Sorry, everyone. I hope we didn't lose everyone. Everyone's still with us. Someone say yes, Hare Krishna. All right.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol. Let me just read a bit more from here on this theme here from Krishna Chakravarti Thakur. So, okay. On the other hand, the happiness of my Ananya Bhakta is given by me personally. It is not obtained by pious acts. They are all times nityam, well versed in matters concerning me, and are always ignorant of other things. Or the phrase can mean that they constantly desire to be in my association. For such persons, I take care of their attainment of wealth, yoga, and their maintenance, shamam, though they do not expect such things from Krishna. They're not worshipping Krishna for that purpose. They're not mixed devotees, yeah. But he takes care of their wealth and their maintenance, though they do not expect such things. It would be unsuitable for the Lord simply to say that he performs these acts. Thus, the word vahami, meaning carry, is used. The use of the word vahami indicates that the Lord bears the burden of maintaining their bodies. Now, this is nice here. In the manner that a householder takes responsibility for maintaining his own wife and children. Thus, one should not say that, like others, their attainment or preservation of bodily needs is due to karma. Right? So that's interesting as well. So we generally speak like that, even as to, oh, it's my karma that I got this job. It's my karma that I've got this money. It's just it's not. For those that are completely dedicated to Krishna, it's Krishna. It's not your karma. It's Krishna who's maintaining you. Yeah. And of course, there's another subject which we won't get into, but for those who get special mercy from Krishna, then he takes everything away. But that he doesn't do with everyone. That's very special. And he continues here. So yeah, so as Mother Chandravali, I think you gave the example one time where you was driving to the temple and the car broke down. You had a puncture. Remember that?
Yeah.
And one man, and someone just appeared out of nowhere and fixed the puncture, didn't speak much. And she went to the car to give him perhaps a donation, and she turned around, he disappeared. Nowhere to be seen. So he appeared from nowhere and disappeared into nowhere.
Fix
So
the
her-
tire in 5 minutes.
So like we could say, though, Krishna appeared as a person to fix your spare tire. We could say.
Amazing, yeah.
Only Krishna knows, but it's very intriguing. So let me just continue. So because my Ananya devotees have no karma due to their lack of desire, his happiness is given by me alone, though I am indifferent to all else. Okay? Though I am indifferent to all else, I have great affection for my devotee. This is the cause of my being, of my bearing responsibility. As well, one should not say that in giving the burden of their maintenance to their worshipful Lord, the devotees show a lack of prema. Yeah. In fact, they do not give me that burden. Rather, by my own will, I accept it. So Krishna comes in and he takes responsibility. Devotees are not asking for it, but Krishna does. Yeah. Again, as well, one should not say that in giving the burden of their maintenance to their worshipful Lord, the devotees show a lack of prema. In fact, they do not give me that burden. Rather, by my own will, accept it. It should be understood that I am not bearing it as a duty, in a manner that I create and maintain the universe by my will alone. And this is what Burijan was referring to. Rather, being attached to my devotees, I take the greatest pleasure in taking care of their needs, like carrying the weight of one's lover. Okay? Hare Krishna. Nice explanation. Huh? Any further questions or comments on this? 9:22. Anantas chintayantamam ye janapaya pasate tesam nityabhayuktamam yogikshemi vahamiyaham. And we only got a few minutes left. Anyone know the pastime of Arjuna Charya in this regard?
Do you know what?
Arjuna Charya. There's a pastime which is, when we go on Navadvip Paragram, they often do a play of this.
That is his circled this place.
You're going
carries-
for the tube. I'm
And the
sorry, we
Bhagavad Gita,
can't
he
hear you.
circled and went out. And the
Yeah, you've
boys,
got-
two boys came, and quickly I'm just, shortening it.
Yeah,
And then
Mata knows of the pastime. So I just try and in a couple of minutes we've got, I just try and summarize the pastime. So there was one Brahmana, Arjunacharya, and he was very poor Brahmana, and he was married. And every day he was so poor that he had to go out and beg for food. Yeah, doing model curry. Yeah, he was married. So he was writing a commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, and he came to this verse that we're reading now. And not Chandravali's nodding her head; she knows it now. And not just change. So he wouldn't believe that the Lord personally carries what was needed to each devotee. He said, no. He said, instead of Vahami, that I have it arranged. I will arrange that that everything is taken care of. So he crossed out Vahami and he put Koromi. I have it arranged. Yeah. So he wrote that, then he went out begging as usual. Now, when his wife was gone, he heard when he was gone, then his wife heard a knock on the door. And she opened the door, and these two beautiful boys, she was really attracting, they were really mesmerizing, really charming, beautiful boys, but they looked very fearful. And they insisted quickly, you please take this food that your husband has forced us to bring. Yeah. So the boys were anxious to get away from their house because they told her that your husband, the great Acharya, might beat us again. Yeah. So you get the picture. So she couldn't. So like she couldn't believe it. Her husband had beaten such boys, And so then I guess you can guess who the dark boy is, okay? And the dark boy, he turned his back and he had marks where he had been hit by Arjunacharya. Yeah. So like she was bewildered. At the same time, she was a bit angry with her husband. Now, normally Vedically, the wife would never eat before the husband, but she rebelled a bit, being kind of concerned and angry with her husband. So she got the food, she cooked and she ate it, and she was eating. Then the husband of Arjunacharya comes back, and he was, he was shocked. First time in his married life, his wife is eating before him. What's going on here? He was very shocked, So then he challenged her, and she said, Acharya, why have you acted so inappropriately and become so cruel? Then she told him about the two boys, how they left loads of a bountiful supply of food, and the dark boy showed marks on his back, and then rushed away. So the Acharya he was silent, and he thought for a few moments. Then he said, my dear wife, can you please explain what these boys look like? Oh, one was really dark, one was really white, and one had a yellow dhoti on, and she's describing Krishna Balaram, So then he could understand that his fortunate wife had been blessed with darshan of Krishna Balaram. And the beating marks on the beautiful dark boy's back were the results of his crossing the Vahami out in the Bhagavad Gita and putting Koromi. Yeah. So that's a wonderful story that's told. It makes a wonderful play as well. Hare Krishna. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this discussing Bhagavad Gita. Such wonderful. Thank you. And let's continue next week, and we'll continue with text 23, and we'll see what adventures we can have. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Krishna, 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 Hare Hare,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Ram.
Ram, 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 Hare
Hare
Hare.
Ram, Ram Ram,
Holy
Hare Hare.
Prabhu ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.